All right, all right. Episode 17 of Failure's Progress is up and running. Keith, it's a beautiful, chilly day out here. I think it's like, what, 60 degrees? 53
Something like
degrees
that.
outside.
Too cold to be awake.
Too cold to be awake. I know that we had some athletes getting some work in this morning. I don't know how they did it. I sure as hell didn't.
I was one of them. I
Yeah.
wasn't full athlete. I was about half an athlete, but I was there. I did a little bit of a little bit, and got my badge for showing up.
It's tough, man. I don't know how people in other states work out, year round if they have heaters in the gyms or whatnot. But
They would have to, especially like up in the Northeast.
yeah,
I can't imagine.
that's got to be weird too, like breathing that hot air and trying to
Yeah.
work out. It's got to be tough. Anyway, man, a couple announcements we want to go through as we're heading towards the end of the year. It is the 19th today, but we have a few announcements. So on the 25th, Christmas Day, we will be closed at all of our locations. Then on January 1st, we're going to have a couple workouts at the Claremont location, 7:30 and 9 a.m. Afterburn will have one workout at 9 a.m. And I believe Groveland is also going to have an 8 a.m.
I would have to double check that. I don't
Yeah,
remember.
that's subject to change, but we'll have the Viking workout January 1st. That's always a fun one. Get to play with sledgehammers and rowers.
Yeah.
The 23rd, Saturday the 23rd, we'll have potlucks at Claremont and Afterburn as well, immediately following the 12th day of Christmas workout. So if you guys are coming out, make sure you're out there on the 23rd and then on the 1st. All right. I think that's it for now. Oh, we also have our kids' winter camp at Claremont. That starts January 2nd. So if anybody wants to entertain their children for a little while, they can take them to Claremont for the 8:30 a.m. classes. And I think that's about it schedule wise for the rest of the year. We also have our first drop with CSTM, which is the custom apparel line from LRX Apparel, and there's links in all of our Facebook groups for all the athletes to check out there. So make sure you order them on there. It'll be a pre-order, and the apparel will be delivered to the gym of your choosing. Apparel looks really nice, man. I can't wait to get mine.
Is it the design that you made, or?
It is the design I made, and it has all three gyms, Claremont, Davenport, and Groveland on there.
Okay.
It looks pretty dope. I'm excited for it.
Oh.
All right. Today's episode is going to be on this past weekend. This past weekend, we hosted the Level 1 seminar over in the Claremont gym. It was pretty exciting. We had a Level 4 and Level 3 coach, in addition to your Level 3. We had a couple coaches there who we kind of learned a few things, and I just wanted to chat with you about it, man. I know that you and I and Jen were there kind of observing, and we appreciate that they allowed us to observe. Level 1, like we've talked about, is the introduction to CrossFit coaching, but it's so much more than that, right? It's the foundation of what CrossFit really is. So what were your key takeaways from the Level 1?
One of the biggest takeaways was just how much they commanded and instructed every single part of class. There was not one part where they didn't have the full attention of everybody that was there. They gave very clear and concise directions for every single piece. When they wanted you to stop moving, they told you to stop moving. When they wanted you to move, they told you to move. When they were moving on to the next thing, they told you to move on to the next thing. So just having that
Control.
Yeah, that group and gym management was kind of my biggest takeaway. I feel like I should say, could do a much better job of that. There's certain classes that get away from me a little bit. You got somebody doing something over here, somebody doing something over there, and like 2 or 3 people in front of me, like listening.
Yeah.
So I probably could do a better job of managing that.
Yeah, it was fun for me to watch. So you did your L1 quite a few years back.
Yeah, just a few years.
8 years, 7 years ago?
10 years ago.
So you did your L1 10 years ago. I did mine 10 months ago. My Level 1 was in Tampa, and there was roughly about 30 people there. So we actually had three coaches, and they broke us out into multiple groups, and it was kind of interesting to see how each breakout group did with each of the coaches, and the coaches kind of switched on and off between the groups. The level one that we had this past weekend was about 12 people, and there was two coaches that were alternating between the groups. It was kind of different to watch one coach coaching the entire group versus the breakout sessions in my level one where there was multiple people. That was interesting for me to watch. The group management was impressive, like you said. I really liked the female coach. Her name was Rena. She was so good with every movement, and she gave a few cues that I'm going to be stealing. That was pretty cool. It's crazy to see how each different coach approaches a specific movement. The med ball cleans, for example, we did those I think last Thursday,
Mm-hmm.
and it was cool to have that in the programming, and then a couple days later see it from seminar staff. Um, and then her jerk progressions were impressive too. That was kind of mind blowing for me because that's one thing that I struggle with coaching, and I haven't done enough research to coach it better. We don't do it all that often in our programming, but it was fun to watch that and experience it. And then I was walking around with my notepad, just like kind of comparing my notes to what they were going over. And as I prepare for my level two, which I'm taking next month, it was kind of like really cool to go back and forth from my notes and see what I remembered and what I've forgotten. I remember most of it, not word for word, specifically the ten movement. What do you call it?
10 general physical skills.
The 10 general physical skill movements. Yeah, remembering those is a little difficult, but yeah, it was cool to watch that and see the room from the outside versus being part of the group.
Yeah.
As with any CrossFit class, you're always going to have more advanced athletes. They had more advanced athletes and then less advanced athletes, and seeing how they were able to cue all of them was pretty impressive. um, what was your favorite movement to watch them go over?
Probably the sumo deadlift high pull. There's a couple of things in there that, because we never do them, that I just forgot as far as like progression wise. So getting a good review on that was really nice, and I think that could help as a scaling option for some athletes, especially some newer athletes. I kind of forget to throw that in as a scaling option because level method, anything weightlifting wise, the scaling option is always Russian kettlebell swing. So it's kind of
Hmm.
an easy thing to kind of default to. But a sumo deadlift high pull can start to get people introduced to the barbell, start introducing some timing, start introducing some positions that we want to see them get into very well before we start having them do a much more difficult lift like a clean or a snatch. Going from Russian kettlebell swings to a snatch is a giant leap.
Big
So
leap.
um, we probably need some intermediate scaling options in there so that we can start getting people to move a little bit better.
Question for you. You just said level method usually throws in kettlebell swings or kettlebells for anything that's weightlifting. What else could we use? Let's say, for example, using a snatch or a power clean as an example. What other scaling option would you use instead of a kettlebell?
A couple of things. So I mentioned the sumo deadlift high pull. We could also switch it to what you just mentioned, which is the medicine ball clean. Even if you're doing snatches, somebody that's never done a snatch doing a medicine ball clean, one, they're probably going to get the same stimulus out of doing the medicine ball clean as a more advanced person would out of doing a power snatch. And then two, they're going to learn the Olympic weightlifting movement ish with a much softer implement, number
Yeah.
one, and then a much easier implement to manipulate. So sumo deadlift high pull, medicine ball cleans. We could even go like dumbbell snatches so that they're using one side of their body at a time and not having to worry about so much balance and all that. Obviously, they still have to worry about it, but it's
Right.
not as it's not going to mess them up, so to speak, as much in like a dumbbell snatch as opposed to a barbell snatch. It's a lot easier to catch your balance too when you only have one hand over your head as opposed to both.
Right. Or to be a safer introduction, at least.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you're probably not going to load up the dumbbell with the same weight that you would have on a barbell. You know, like you can go 15-pound dumbbell as opposed to the barbells start at 35 pounds.
Nice.
I mean, we have technique bars, but
Yeah.
aside from that.
Is there anything that you saw this weekend, taking into account your experience and how long you've been doing this and being a level 3 coach? Is there anything you saw this weekend that you saw and said, wow, never thought of that before, or this is new to me? Anything jump out at you?
This is new to me.
I guess not.
Yeah, I can't think of anything that was necessarily new to me. There was a couple of things that were really great, like reminder things that I have known, but I haven't implemented them just because I've gotten new knowledge and kind of some of the older stuff kind of gets falls to the wayside. But especially like on the GHD sit-ups, making sure that people are engaged in their rec fem, making sure we're driving hard with those legs, making sure we're coordinating the movement right or correctly. Talking about functional movements where we have our 6 descriptors and then our 1 definition of what functional movement is. That reinforcing that is definitely going to make a lot of conversations about movement. Everybody always asks, why are we doing this? Why are we doing that? Why are we doing this?
Right.
So having that refresher was really good.
Did they go over on the GHD, making sure that you could do 25 unbroken sit-ups to parallel before you start going into trying to get full flexion on your spine?
Yeah. So the progression for that is 25 ab mat sit-ups and then 25 GHD sit-ups to parallel and then 25 quote unquote full range of motion. And I put that in quotes because a lot of people think full range of motion is you tapping the floor behind your head and then coming up. That is hyperextension. That's not full range of motion, but it's also a CrossFit Games standard. That is not how the movement should be performed. That's just how we test our elite athletes.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite parts of the L1 when I took it. I didn't get to see it again this weekend, but it was one of those movements that I had gotten a slight injury on just before doing the L1. And then when they went over it, it really kind of cemented for me not just why I got injured, but how I should be coaching this. Because anytime I see somebody in class get on the GHD, they're just automatically trying to touch the ground. And I'm very big on telling people you don't have to. You know, I usually say something like, unless you're getting paid by Noble or by Nike, unless you're sponsored and you're going to the CrossFit Games, there's no necessity, there's no real benefit to going to it. I assume that for some athletes who've been doing it for a long time, they do it because they can and they just want to continue doing it. But I'm pretty firm on people just going to parallel because I think the muscle building aspect for your core is the same. I think going past parallel, you kind of lose that that what's it called, that time under tension a little bit as you get to the bottom, and then you have to go back into that tension to get yourself up. So that's one of the things that really stuck out to me from when I took my L1 about the GHD. Not everybody's receptive to that. So I always tell people with caution, if you're going to do full GHTs, just make sure that you're experienced with it. You know, you can get hurt. I've seen people get hurt. I got hurt. But yeah, the GHD is one of those that I think we could all coach a little bit better.
Yeah.
So I mentioned that I will be doing my L2 next month. I'm going to be taking it with Coach Gabriel. That's going to be a fun thing for the two of us. But being that you took your L2 already, any insights you could give me or anybody else listening who's going to be taking their L2 in the near future.
Absolutely. But first, let's give a shout out to Yoli as well as Rachel. Those are two of our athletes, Rachel from Claremont and Yoli from Afterburn. They went and took their L1 this weekend. Absolutely crushed it. I know they passed, so congratulations. I got to hook up at HQ. No, I'm just kidding. Don't take that.
No pressure.
Yeah, don't take that as word. But great job, guys. Thank you for coming out. Excuse me.
Yeah,
Yoli
congratulations to them.
Actually going to be one of our new coaches at Afterburn, correct?
Yes, she's going to be. Actually, she started with us last Friday. She's in our coaches development program now, and obviously it's pending that L1 certificate that we both know she's going to get.
Yeah, I know she got that.
But yeah, we're excited.
Yeah, so great job, ladies. Can't wait to see you out there on the gym floor, putting everything you learned to work. Yeah, so L2 prep. The best, in my opinion, tip that you could get for taking your level 2 is know the 9 foundational movements backwards and forwards. And I don't just mean the movements themselves. I mean all of the
points of
performance, your setups, your finish positions, your I already said points of performance, progressions, all of that stuff. Know all of it, backwards, forwards, left, right, up, down. Be as well versed in that as you possibly can. Because level 2 is all about coaching, and you can't coach what you don't know.
Right.
So if you get there and they're like, hey, coach this group on the push press, and you just know like what the push press is, and you don't really know the L1 progression for all of that. And there's nothing wrong with coming up with your own progressions. One, it's very difficult, and two, you already have one right in front of you, so I don't know why you would. But it becomes very difficult to coach that.
Okay, so the 9 foundational movements, which are the air squat, front squat, back squat, and then you have the overhead squat.
Overhead squat, yes, sir.
Air squat, front squat, overhead squat, and then we have the deadlift, sumo deadlift, high pull, med ball clean, and then we have the press or strict press, push press, and the jerk.
Correct.
Cool. I got that part down.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Just knowing those forwards and backwards. And then start to dive into like the like class flow, like the what am I trying
lesson
to say?
Planning?
The criteria of effective coaching.
The 6 criteria.
6 criteria, thank you. 6 criteria of effective coaching. So really digging into that, you're teaching, seeing, and correcting. Making sure that you use the model of, I think it's tell, show, do, check, or something like that. So you're telling your athletes what you want them to do, showing it to them, having them do it, and then checking, making sure they did it right.
I think it's teach, say, do, check. Or is it tell?
It's definitely tell.
Tell.
I just don't know if it's show, tell, or if it's tell, show. I always get that wrong.
Probably tell first, then show, right?
I think it is tell, show, do, check.
Yeah.
But it could be show. I don't know why you would show something you haven't told them, though.
So I'll tell you, then I'll show you, then you'll do it, and then I'll check you.
And then I'll check.
That makes sense. Yeah, and then the 6 criteria is, you said it was teach, show, check.
Teach, see, correct.
But I was close. Teach, see, correct. Group management. Attitude and presence, which is my favorite. And the last one is critique? No.
Nope.
It's something like critique. What is it?
Demonstration.
Yeah. Same thing as critique.
So same thing. Same thing. So we have teaching, seeing, correcting, group and gym management, demonstration, and presence and attitude.
Yeah.
So just start diving into those subjects to make sure that you're being as effective as possible out there on the floor. The second piece of advice that I would give would be Don't get wrapped up in trying to be perfect. You're there to be evaluated. You're
Yeah,
there to um, for the seminar staff to let you know what you can work on specifically. You specifically can work on. So don't worry about trying to be perfect. If there are holes in your coaching game, that's quote
that's not
unquote
an if.
okay.
That's not an
Yeah,
if.
we all have holes in
We
our
all
coaching
have
game.
holes in our coaching game.
But yeah, don't go there trying to be perfect or with the expectation that you want to do so well that they don't give you any feedback. Because I don't care how good you do, they're going to give you feedback. Um, and you should want to get that feedback. If you don't want to get that feedback, then probably don't take your L2
So,
because they're going to give you some feedback.
so what I'm hearing is go in with the intent of failing because failure is progress.
I mean, yeah, I wouldn't consider it a failure, but yeah, go in with the intent that you're going to do the best you can, and they're going to let you know what you can do even better.
Yeah, we've talked about this. Like when I first started coaching, I said, the sooner I can go in and just start failing and having those bad classes, the sooner I can start getting to the good ones.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
that'll be my intent for this as well, is to go in with an open mind and understand that just like a competition, I'm going to put forth my best effort and do my best. But ultimately, it doesn't matter how hard I try; they are going to tell me what I'm doing wrong, and that's the whole purpose,
Yeah.
so I can learn from it.
Yeah, that's the point of the L2. But that usually like kicks people in the teeth because they're just like, oh my gosh, I'm not a perfect coach. And it just like shakes people up. And it's just like, yeah, you're not a perfect coach. That's okay. We all got to get better.
Yeah. In terms of the 2-day event, we have a lot of the whiteboard stuff, and then there's probably going to be some breakout sessions, probably a little different than what the breakout sessions are like in the L1. Is there also a workout
Yeah, there'll be a workout both days.
both days?
Yep.
Okay,
Just like it
cool.
was in the L1.
Um, is the workout led by one of the athletes, or is it led by seminar staff?
Seminar staff. Yeah.
Okay,
So the
cool.
seminar staff is going to lead both of the workouts. When you do those workouts, um, don't do the workout for the sake of training. Do the workout, but try to pay attention to what the seminar staff are doing. How are they scaling people? What are they saying? What cues are they using? How are they moving their body? Are they like situating themselves so they can see the whole room, or are they coming to you and specifically looking at you? Those are opportunities that I feel like I missed out on because I was so focused on trying to crush this workout and prove to everybody I was a bad, you know what, that I totally forgot the reason that I was there, which was to learn how to coach. So really pay attention to what the coaches are doing during that time. Really focus on what they have you do before the Metcon and after the Metcon, because they're going to run it like an actual like 1 hour class.
Oh,
Yeah, so it's a little bit different in the L1 because I don't think they run it like it's a 1 hour class. There's a lot of teaching, a lot of progressions, and then you kind of get into the Metcon. But I don't think it's like a full 1 hour. Like we warm you up, general warm up, specific warm up, Metcon, cool down, all of that type of stuff.
yeah.
This is going to be like 1 hour class where they're going to start from the whiteboard brief all the way through to the cool down. So really pay attention as much as you can, and try to absorb as much of that as you can.
That I'm actually looking forward to that, because another thing that I'm excited about is the fact that they'll probably use like CrossFit.com programming versus what I'm used to with Level Method, and I've never been experienced with that. So I know that with CrossFit.com, I think now they have scaling options, but
Yeah.
originally it was just one
Yeah,
workout,
it was just a
and
workout.
it was on the coach to scale. So it's interesting for me to see how they do that and see everyone in the room, and they do a really good job. Like we saw that with the L1, one coach, 12 people, but they were able to give each and every person the attention that they needed, show them the right corrections, and they were able to see the entire room. That part for me was really impressive. The group management was impressive, especially from an L4.
Yeah.
um, All right, and then the last part I'll ask about the L2 is the exam. Is it the same as the L1 where it's a multiple choice written exam, or is it like subjective to them seeing you coach and then saying, "Hey, you pass"?
No, that's actually the L4. No, this one was when I took it. It was online, kind of like testing center thing, where you went to a website. Um, the reason I think they do that is because there are going to be some videos where you have to watch some movements.
Oh,
Yeah, I think anything past that, I might be breaking my NDA. So I don't. I'm not sure how much I can say before they revoke me from CrossFit.
that's
But
cool.
yeah, I think it is going to be. I think they ask you to bring your laptop so that you can, like I said, there are going to be some videos where you have to watch some movements. And you kind of have to pick out good movement from bad movement, et cetera, et cetera.
Kind of like the judges course.
Kind of like the judges course. Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. They might ask you how you would correct certain faults or something like that. I don't think there's like a written portion of the exam where you would actually have to like type out an essay or anything, but I think you would have to like maybe type out a Q or two or something like that. It was a while since I took it, but um, yeah, it's going to be web based. And that's just so that they can have those videos in there. But there is going to be some of the methodology questions, just like the L1. Um,
I'm excited. We've been talking about it since I got my L1 that I already want to take the L2. Yeah, the seminars themselves are kind of an experience, right? You don't really understand it until you go and take it. A lot of people talk about, oh, you should get your L1 even if you don't want to coach. It really gives you a better understanding of everything, and people probably take that for granted. I think if you really care about CrossFit as a sport and as a fitness methodology, it really opens your eyes to the reasoning behind so many things that you don't really get if you're just a 5 or 6 day athlete, right? You just come in and do the work and go home. Um, so I highly recommend it to anybody who's ever considered it. Just take that extra leap of faith and take it, because at the end of the day, your understanding of CrossFit just becomes that much greater, and it becomes more infectious too. I feel like
yeah.
once you take the L1 and you pass it and you're in L1, now all of a sudden you're like preaching the gospel of CrossFit even more so than just as an athlete. I think that's going to be exciting.
I also think the difference is like you understand the goal once you take your L1.
Yeah,
So some of the issues that you may have now while you're in class, those will be eliminated just because you understand what we're actually trying to accomplish.
yeah, agreed. My favorite thing of all at the end of my L1 was that last section of the L1 manual where you're basically going over, I am now a CrossFit coach, and this is my responsibility to always be better. Just because I'm an L1 doesn't mean I know it all. Now it means I have to really start learning everything to be the best coach possible. Like, and that's paraphrasing, obviously, but that is kind of what I enjoyed the most. I think that's the point where I said to myself, "Wow, I'm really doing this. Like, now I'm not just coaching. Like, now this is my life, and I'm really gonna apply myself to it as much as I can." So yeah, man, I'm excited to take this. I know Gabriel's excited to take it. It'll be fun. I'm gonna try to stay away from him in the actual seminar so that we can experience other athletes and coaches. But
Yeah.
yeah, man, I appreciate the insight, and I appreciate you kind of tippy toeing the line of crossing the line with CrossFit,
Risking my whole career for you?
risking
No,
your
I'm
whole
just
career.
kidding.
But yeah, man, the L1 was fantastic. Again, congratulations, not just to Yoli and Rachel, but all the other coaches, I guess we could call them now if they,
Yeah.
if they passed. That got their L1, and thanks to Todd and Rena for coming over and doing that over at our gym, and we look forward to hosting another one.
Absolutely. Real quick, guys, before we sign off, make sure that you follow us on Instagram and leave us a review. We would greatly appreciate it. We thank you for all of your support.
And have a beautiful holiday. If you don't hear from us again, we'll catch you guys on the next one.
Take care.